So good evening from Wirral. A rainy Wirral today, to be honest with you. Well, this evening. It's been nice all day. Just a little bit of rain today. Anyway, come online. Just in a story that I thought might have been of interest to some people. And it's about a caravan park. Now, these people, it's a caravan park in Cheshire, and I won't name it because it's not for me to do that, but it's an article in Cheshire Live, or on Cheshire Live on their website. Basically, it's 22 tenants on this caravan park have been served with no fault eviction notices, which sounds a little bit strange if you know anything about caravan parks, okay? And I'll come to that as I go through the article. So, but they warn the landlord he has a fight on his hands. Now, why is this? Well, these tenants have a permanent residence on a Cheshire holiday park caravan park. Now, this sort of park doesn't normally allow for permanent residences, okay? Normally it's like there's a certain amount of time you can be resident there, then you have to have a break, and you have to have a break. I think it's like a month where you're not there at all. So otherwise, I think you're liable for council tax to start with, which these people haven't been charged, by the way. Anyway, they're going to war with their landlord after they were all served with eviction notices. The aggrieved group of 22 say the landlord has got a fight on his hands, insisting we're not moving anywhere as a standoff between two parties formed. The evicted tenants at, and I'm not going to name it at the moment, this caravan park, claim they were missold permanent residents by the landlord. Now, the landlord denies ever selling caravans as permanent residences, as he would deny, obviously, because if he says he did, he's admitting a crime. They opened the park in 2008 and allegedly rented out static caravans to permanent tenants for up to £750 a month, plus a £700 deposit. So think about that. Round here, £750 will get you, certainly get you 2-bed terrace. Might get you 3-bed somewhere, maybe not. Anyway, so he's been charging up to £750 a month. Now, the park's licence only allows for 23 static caravans at the park to be occupied for 3 weeks consecutively, and this is what I was talking about. There's like a limit on how long you can be in there. And the whole site is obligated to close down completely every year between the 15th of January and the 15th of February. However, journalists at the Northwich and Winsford Guardian have been shown tenancy agreements issued by the park which contravene the park's licence as a holiday residence. Chester West and Chester Council consider the caravans to be holiday homes, which is why they have never built a residence for council tax. So that's what I was saying before. You don't normally pay council tax on these. Conversely, some residents have been claiming housing benefits from Chester Council, meaning the council also regards the site as a tenants-only residence. So, don't know what's happened there. Not unusual for council departments not to talk to each other, to be honest with you, having worked inside local authority. Not unusual not to know their own rules either. The Schrödinger-esque anomaly was revealed when all households residing at this caravan park were issued no-fault evictions notices. They were given until last month to move out permanently. Coincidentally, these notices came into effect a few short weeks before the Renters Reform Bill. It's scheduled to come into law. We don't know when it's going to come into law yet because it's still the House of Lords at the moment. The new law will make it far more difficult for landlords to evict tenants for antisocial behaviour or non-payment of rent. You can still reclaim possession of it, don't forget. So this landlord has reportedly earned £16,100 per month from these illegal rentals. The tenants believe that the new law has made the landlord nervous about his ability to effectively continue managing this revenue stream, considering it's illegal. Yeah, potentially it's illegal. Allegedly it's illegal. Under the new RBB, get it right in the end, new Renters' Right Bill conditions, if someone decided to simply stop paying rent, It is expected to take a landlord 6 months to a year to get rid of a problem tenant. I don't know about that. I didn't think it was that long, to be honest with you. And don't forget, this is coming from a local paper. They might not have the same grasp of the new bill as some of us do. But if you get a backlog, I could well see it taking a year. Because the notice period has been increased, a court hearing will be compulsory, and then potentially enforcement proceedings can add to the time a landlord is denied rental income. Many landlords are expected to exit the private rental market because of the increased risk to their investment. Yeah, we know that. A spokesperson for these people on the caravan park has been living on the site for the past 12 months. She goes, "We're all absolutely wounded," she said. "We were told when we moved into this so-called holiday park, that we'd be able to stay for the whole 12 months. We must have been, because I'm claiming universal credit and my rent is paid by housing benefits," which is where the anomaly comes in, because it shouldn't be. Now we've had this dropped on us, we've been given no fault eviction notices with a minimum 2 months to get out. Some of us reckon it's to do with the new laws coming in. He won't be able to get away with what he's been doing here anymore, alluding to the fact that they think it's illegal what he's been doing, but they were quite happy to live there while he was doing it. Just saying. If the police ever have to come here, he goes absolutely mad and starts giving out written warnings. So obviously they have issues there sometimes if the police go there. The landlord shot back, denying that the caravans were sold permanent residences. He also denied issuing the tenancy agreements that these journalists have seen. He claims tenants were all aware they could not live there all year round. He also denies being aware that some residents were claiming housing benefits to pay their rent. And he might not have been aware of that. I don't know. He said, "I'm retiring. It's been sold. That's it. They were always going to have to go sometime. Now it's time for them to move on. They all told me they were working. They shouldn't have ever claimed housing benefits. I told them they couldn't from the off." So that alludes to the fact that he knew it was their permanent residence. The spokesperson for the residents said, "We've made an appointment to see a lawyer at the Citizens Advice Bureau to see where we stand, but we're not moving anywhere. The new owner has got a fight on his hands, as none of us are going without a fight." Now, there's a fellow called Greg Wilson, who's the CEO of European Consumer Claims. Without presuming to apportion blame in this instance, we are seeing nationwide examples of people being told they can live permanently in the holiday park unit, despite the actual contract stating otherwise, which that's always been my understanding. You can't stay permanently in it. And I know of locally to me, there are caravan parks where people live 12 months of the year. Yeah. But that's not my understanding of it. We are cataloguing an overwhelming body of evidence from people who bought holiday park lodges and static caravans. A significant amount of callers are telling us that the salesperson assured them they could live in their holiday unit full time. So people are moving in thinking they can live full time because they don't know the law. Many of us do not read long, complex contracts line by line. That's true, but you should do. We often put our trust in the person selling us a product, and obviously if you're buying a house, you have a solicitor. I presume this is a little bit different if you're buying a large static caravan, etc. You haven't got the conveyancing side to tell you if it's wrong or to warn you things. I don't know, I'm wrong. If someone wants to correct me in the comments, please do. And a lot of buyers, the idea of living in a holiday location all year round is extremely appealing. Of course it is, yeah. I'd love to do that as well. And is that the end of the article? No, not quite. So the cost can be tens or even hundreds of thousands of pounds, which this is to buy a static caravan lodge or whatever, which is a lot of money, of course. But for people who believe they're going to live in their lodge, it can seem worth selling their existing home to make the purchase, or at least remortgaging heavily. So people have borrowed heavily to buy some of these places. Sadly for these tenants here, their legal position may not be particularly strong in terms of being able to remain living on the park, The silver lining here is that anyone in this circumstance could potentially have solid grounds for a compensation claim if they were misled as described. And that's the end of the article. So there's a couple of things to note here. And this has always been my understanding, by the way, that you cannot stay in a holiday park 12 months a year. There has to be certain breaks, and a 1 month break, I think it is usually around between January and February from my knowledge, but it may be other times of the year depending on the holiday park. I wasn't aware that you can only stay 3 consecutive weeks at a time. I don't know if that differs from council to council, but that's also another thing to be aware of. So the thing for us to take away, as long as you're not investing in holiday parks, hope you're not, is the claim that it could take up to a year to evict a tenant under the new RRB. And I can see that happening if there becomes a backlog, and there will become a backlog at the moment because they haven't put the infrastructure in place already. So they want to make it law, but there's no infrastructure. They know what the infrastructure should be. They need more people at courts to deal with these cases. They need to have a screening procedure to make sure that these have value, these claims that go in. So it's a bit of a strange one. Hopefully you found that a little bit interesting, a bit unusual, and you can take something away from that, a bit of knowledge there. Any other examples? Put them in the comments. Let's have a chat about it. Anyway, before I go, podcast, Efficiency in Property Investing. That's my podcast. New episodes every Monday. I'll put a link in the comments below. Please like, subscribe and share. It costs nothing to share, but it means a huge amount to me. And really appreciate all that support. So have a great week, bank holiday weekend. Keep moving forward.